So I'm with Bernie Kreft. Bernie Kreft, prospector and a man of many trades. First time on Goldfinger Capital. Bernie, welcome.
Thank you, Robert. Nice to have the chance to be here.
Yeah, I think this is the first time I've seen you interviewed, so I'm really excited for this. We followed each other on X for I don't know how long. It's got to be at least 5 years now, probably more.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've seen your name a lot more in the last couple of years with American Eagle, the NAC project, with Sitka's project, Blackjack, Rosgobble. I know you had a hand in both of those. Also, Banyan, you had a hand in that project, the AurMac project. So you're a prolific Yukon prospector, and I want to dive into that. And how does one become a prospector?
Bad life choices. Bad, I tell you. No, I mean, I grew up in the industry, so to speak. My dad was a part-time prospector. He ran a painting and decorating business, and weekends we'd often go on little prospecting trips and stuff like that. So I was introduced to this gig or game at an early age. We're talking 4 or 5 years old. I could already identify copper at, I think, 4 or something like that. And I saw my first placer gold mine at 5 or 6 and tried making a sluice box when I got home. And it just kind of grew from there. Came to it honestly, I guess.
So as a child, you enjoyed it enough that you're like, when you grew up, you're like, I want to keep doing this, or you just got very good at it and it just became, well, okay, I'm going to do this because I'm good at it?
No, I mean, I was not terrible at school. Like, I mean, I'd routinely roll into school and just go, okay, how much do I need on this test to get a passing grade in the class? And then I'd pull out a 70 or a 90 or 95 or whatever I needed. And then I'd fall asleep again until the marks kind of dipped down to par. And I just knew right at that stage, I just said to myself, school isn't for me. Right. So, okay, so what can you do when you graduate from high school? You can, do a number of things, become a laborer. And my mom actually suggested, hey, Bernie, you always enjoyed prospecting. Why don't you become a prospector? And I'm like, cool, good idea.
Okay, so let's try to get some idea of timelines here. So I figure we're about the same age. Are you in your late 40s?
I'm 56.
56. Okay, so you got 10 years on me. Okay, so that gives me some context for the conversation. So I'm guessing you got into the prospecting game in the 90s?
I staked my first, I invested in my first junior mining company back when I think I was 14 or 15. I was already investing in junior mining stocks at 14 to 15. And I did my first staking job, my first property acquisition. I think I was 17. I was underage. I had to have my parents sign for both my stock trading habits and my claim staking habits. So, I started out really early. I didn't really become full time until a few years later, obviously, until I kind of established myself. But let's just say I started pretty early.
Okay, so you started in the 80s then.
Yeah, 89.
Okay. Wow.
89.
All right. So we're talking about more than 30 years, 36 years now.
Yeah.
All right. There's a lot of stories there. So, prospecting is an unusual, occupation, I guess I'd say it, because first of all, it strikes me as being hard work. It's physical. You actually, like in the US and I guess Canada in the old days, you actually had to go out there and physically stake the ground. And Canada changed that. But in the US, you still actually got to go physically stake it. Also, even in Canada, you probably just don't want to blindly stake on a computer. You probably want to have some idea of what you're actually staking. So you might want to go see the land first and do some soil sampling or whatever, right? So there's a physical aspect to it. And also there's a risk aspect, right? Because you're putting out money to get the claims, the mineral rights to this ground that you actually have no idea what's in the earth, right?
Yeah, I mean, like the Yukon still uses ground staking as well. So you actually physically hit the ground, take your axe, take your machete, and take your red flagging tape and go cut out a line and mark, posts and everything else. It's still how it's done in the Yukon. BC is a little bit different. It's all done on the computer and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, yeah, you're 100% correct. I mean, if you're running off half-cocked, spending money on acquisitions and stuff without at least doing a little bit of research or a little bit of pre-game prep or something like that, you're going to look stupid awful fast. And it's costly. It's like I can't stress enough, it's pretty expensive, and trying to get established. Like I remember when I was young, trying to scrape together money to go out and do exploration was extremely tough, right? So usually you had one chance, one shot that summer, and we're making a trip out to this project, and keep your fingers crossed, otherwise we're going to be borrowing money from grandma for Christmas presents.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the Yukon Gold Rush show on TV, which they obviously play up and they make it very sensational for the television audience. But it is the sort of thing where like those guys need to actually find some gold, or they're going to be way underwater for all the equipment and the gasoline that they bought.
Let me stop you right there. There were two shows, right? So there's the American show, and no offense to Americans, but it's heavily commercialized behind the scenes. And so, the Parker Schnabels and the Todd Hoffmans of the world, they had a lot of money and support behind them. So it wasn't really a real show. I mean, it's quite, honestly, it's quite fake. There was a Canadian
version. Act. Yeah.
Myself and a few other local guys up from Dawson City, we were on the Canadian version. That was a lot more realistic. It was actually do or die. I mean, obviously they brought a lot of drama into the show. Otherwise it's just a bunch of sweaty guys hurting themselves mentally and financially in the forest. Right? So we gotta add something else other than
you gotta add some flavor and drama to it.
Yeah,
or else it's actually really not that interesting.
Yeah. God damn, look, hey, there's Bernie sweating again.
Oh, and so you're a TV star.
Yeah, we had a couple of years on TV. Myself and my two sons, we got approached by a production company, and they wanted somebody with a little bit of personality for the show, so they settled on me and a few other people, and we tried to do our best to give them a show, and I think it worked out fairly well. But it was placer mining in the Yukon and dirt and mud and machines, and like I said, it's a lot more realistic than the American one, which is Gold Rush. Ours was called Yukon Gold.
Yukon Gold. Okay. Yeah, the American one is pretty fake. I mean, I can tell it's super faked up, and they're just acting for the cameras. And those aren't real gold mines. There's gold in the ground, but they would not be out there unless they were being paid by Caterpillar in the TV show. So tell us about 36 years of prospecting, Bernie. Like, I feel like you're doing really well right now. I mean, some of the projects that you staked and optioned are top notch, especially the one that Sitka has that's growing by the day. How did you get to this point?
Right. I mean, it's been a hard, it's incremental wins, right? And you start off with a small win, and then you string a second small win together, and then it looks like a medium win, and then it's just incremental growth over the years. Really, it's a slow and steady approach interspersed with some lucky moments, because I'm really not that smart. So, yeah, I mean, we've had some great wins over the years. Like, if I had to look back through the property portfolio and assess how many millions of ounces are in the portfolio and stuff like that, it would be in the tens, if not 10 to 15 million ounces of gold resources in the portfolio at least. And on top of that, multi-billions of pounds of copper. So, but like, it's an overnight success built on 36 years of hard work, right?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking
Yeah.
that it's the sort of thing where you work hard at you work hard at it, you build a foundation over many years or decades, and then all of a sudden, you hit a good market environment and you option some of your best project to some really good teams that are able to actually get the technical work done and do some real drill programs. They not just doing 2,000 meters, they're doing 20 or 30,000, right?
Oh yeah. Like last year, I don't know, our Kreft Co owned properties were probably in the order of 150,000 meters of drilling on them. So, that's a lot of meters. Considering I don't have an education and stuff, I feel quite, at times I wake up and I feel lucky. But luck meets hard work, and hard work meets luck, and I guess maybe I'm not completely idiotic, but somehow it all kind of meshes together and seems to work. And we had some big wins like 10, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. A couple of my properties were in the background of a sizable takeout. I had this thing down in the Galore Creek area that it's now with Teck and Newmont, and that was my first real big win. And it's just been a steady stream of it's kind of like if you stay in the game long enough and you're hanging on, and it's like the third period or the fourth quarter and you're down by 17 points with 10 minutes left, but you keep chipping away at it. It's I kind of feel like that's how it went.
It's kind of like being a junior mining investor. If you just stay in the game, if you don't do anything really, really stupid and blow your bankroll,
you're a junior mining investor.
Eventually you're going to run into a bull market, right?
Yeah. Like I said, I started investing in this stuff when I was 14 or 15, and holy smokes, my first Atlantic Energy, I think it was one of my first stocks I ever bought, and they had an oxide gold deposit in Nevada, and I thought it was an energy stock, so I bought it in like November thinking, okay, energy is going to go up because it's winter.
So, there we go.
Yeah, but yeah, if you take a look at Sitka. What did I like about Sitka? They had a good team. I knew the project was going to hold water. I knew they had a good team. Co said he promised that he was going to give it a good shake, and he did. And that one worked out well. And the same MO happened at American Eagle with NAC. I said, Tony, you're going to be able to raise money. You're going to be able to do this. You're going to be able to do that. And yeah, he said, yeah, we'll give it a good shake. And so there we go. And I kind of grandfathered into the Banyan one, but I remember when Tara came along and we had some chats right at the beginning, and I like Tara. Like, she's pretty smart and she does what she's supposed to do, and then does it right and does it well. And, she's honest. And then that's sort of like something you can sort of the MO of all the companies I deal with. That's kind of the ones I'm trying to pick out. And if we can't find them, then hopefully they get structured that way while the play goes on.
So is that, you said, luck a few times earlier, and obviously luck does have something to do with this game, but it can't be all luck. There has to be a lot of skill. There has to be a secret sauce. So like, what is the secret sauce? Is it finding the right people to take the project from you and move it forward, or is there something else?
Oh gosh, the secret sauce is depends on what cook shows up, right? It's a myriad of things, right? Management is important. Their ability to raise money, the rocks, right? One thing you can't fake is the rocks. You can't fake geology. You can't fake good drill intersections. You either have them or you don't. And people always go, oh, it's management, or it's this, or it's that, or it's nah, fuck no. It's the rocks, really, when it comes right down to it. So secret sauce, I would say, is 67% rocks and 3% management or something like that.
So how do you find the right rocks?
That's a secret.
Oh, that's the secret sauce.
I mean,
Okay.
you just focus on target. You focus on target types where you have the belief, or the knowledge, or the insight, whatever. You've done enough work. You focus, like NAC, American Eagle, right? That was a copper gold porphyry. There were some historical drill intersections on that thing, and I liked what I saw. Sitka gold, same basic thing. There were a few drill intersections, but then when you took a look at the geochemistry and you said, oh, okay, well, this thing's going to go east-west, and then there's some north-south potential here, and there's this vein over here, and nobody's followed this up. Well, it became readily apparent when you looked at the data at NAC, at Sitka, at Banyan, when you took, well, actually, Banyan was a little more of a lucky discovery, right? They started out exploring Banyan, of all things, as a tungsten skarn, or a lead zinc silver vein system. And I went out there because that's what you do as a prospector. You try and hit as many of these things as possible. And when we went to what became the airstrip zone, one of the first grab samples we took out there ran like some 7 or 8 ounce per ton gold. And I'm like, holy shit, that's a lot of gold for a tungsten scar and lead zinc silver vein. maybe we'll rebrand this property and then turn it into a gold thing. And about a year and a half later, the company that optioned it from me, they let me collar the first hole, and we drilled what I consider the discovery hole out there. And I think we got 3 grams over, like 3 or 3.5 grams over 25 meters, something like that. So pretty healthy.
That was at the airstrip?
Yeah, that was at airstrip. Okay. So, but it happened like and timing, here's another thing. So if it's 67% geology or rocks and 32% management, it's timing. So that drill intersection came out just like literally a week after Bre-X broke. And, it was pretty hard to sell a gold target at that point.
Yeah, so that's another point I want to make, because, like, for example, with NAC, Banyan, even the Sitka project, these weren't virgin projects. In fact, like, I know NAC had 2 drill programs in like the mid 90s. Yep. I think there was another one around 2008 or 2009 or something. So small programs. But there was enough data to sort of get an idea that, there's something interesting here. And it might not have been totally, figured out. The puzzle hasn't, been solved yet, but obviously there's something interesting there. So how do you find these projects that have had some good work done by prior operators, but then they just go dormant?
Oh, I mean, I've been in it now long enough, like 36 years. So quite often there's either information in the public realm and research, or, there's private information that I have that nobody else will have. Right. And so you end up with just a big database of both public and private information that helps sort of, direct you to where you want to go. And not all drill programs are equal, and not all projects are created equal. So it's a function of taking the information at hand and being able to, I guess that's maybe my secret power, is being able to assess information and see where the holes or the openings lie, and whether there's room for something big to actually happen here. Right. So we did, there was one project, it's now in with a company called Kestrel Gold, QCM. And when we acquired that, there was a little historical resource, little drilled area, but you could see from the historical work, again, both public as well as private work that I had access to, you could see where there's, potential over here, there's potential over here. And we just, we went out there and we used the original drill area as a target, to sort of float the ship. But we knew there was more in the district. And so we had some successes that way as well. So it's quite often, again, there's going to be historical work, but it's a function of assessing that work and then seeing where there's some openings to make it better. Because if it's been dropped 9 times out of 10, if it's been drilled and dropped, it's worth fuck all, But some of those chances, again, or some of those properties where you go and you take a look at it and you say, okay, it's drilled and dropped, this is no good. Drilled and dropped, that's no good. Hey, drilled and dropped, but look, they missed this. So that's sort of the key.
So that's interesting to me. Drilled and dropped 9 out of 10 times, it's worth fuck all. Okay, so that's something that some people need to hear. But what about the 1 out of 10 times, right? So you've got to look at all these lemons. You've got to sift through all these lemons and say, okay, this company did a drill program in 1993. These were the results. They dropped the project in 96 or 97. Nobody came back. Is there anything there? So when you're looking at these projects that have been dropped and they've been drilled and then dropped, what are you like? What's one thing that you look for to say, hold on, I'm kind of interested to go a little deeper?
Jesus, it's on a per project basis, right? You can't, there's 100 things that make you think, hey, there might be something else here. I'm I guess an optimist, I'm
like, for example, with NAC, like, what did you see at NAC?
Well, we saw a north zone that hadn't, so many drill holes that bottomed in mineralization in the north zone, right? Okay, so it's bottomed in potentially ore grade mineralization. Why didn't you guys drill deeper? Oh, well, the drill didn't go deeper. Oh, okay, that's a problem. There was atypically high, large amounts of gold compared to the copper. So it's definitely a gold rich copper porphyry. Those types of things. Oh gosh, what else were they? I forget the term, but it's red Chris, I think, is another gold rich copper porphyry. And, you just kind of knew, okay, south zone here, IP embayment here. IP embayment had never been drilled. There were other targets up onto the northeast of the project and stuff like that. And then you just start going, okay, holes that bottomed in mineralization, south zone that's open in a couple of different directions, northeast extension that's never been hit, IP embayment target that's never been hit, deeper target over there. I'd seen it all, but it was tough. Like, we had that property out to several juniors, and and they kept going, we're drilling it next year, and we're drilling it next year, and it never got drilled, and it never got drilled. And like I said, then that's when management comes in, and Tony shows up on the scene and says, we're going to drill it, and we're going to do this, that, and the other thing. And I'm like, okay, give her shit, Tony, because I think there's some targets here. And and it's at times it's hard not to come across as a I got a vested interest, obviously, in seeing these things develop. So, people sometimes look at me and go, it's just Bernie talking shit about his own property in his own book. But I'd like to think after quite a few major wins that it's not Bernie. Bernie starts knowing what he's doing. And if Bernie says there's something here, there's potential here, then maybe we should listen to him. But, and that was the same bloody story on Sitka. Right before Sitka came in. You should see the trouble I had trying to vend that property out. People are going, well,
how long did you hold that project?
Sitka?
Yeah.
Oh God. 12, 14 years before Core came along.
Wow.
And I tried vending that thing out, and people were going, hey, there's, you know, that thing's closed off. And I'm like, are you drunk? This ain't closed off. You know,
Who told you it was closed off?
I'm not going to mention any names because they're probably, it's a career defining mistake, but you guys know who you are.
Oh my God. Yeah, what a mistake to actually say that project and those deposits are closed off with what Sitka has drilled just in 2025. My God. I mean, they're basically hitting 100+ meters of gram plus gold on every hole. It's that's amazing.
Yeah, their hit rate is huge.
I mean, yeah, that's a pregnant gold system there. That thing is given gold. It's impressive. And tungsten. You know, speaking of tungsten skarns, they've got tungsten there too.
Well, these you know, these reverse intrusion related gold systems, one of my favorite pathfinders on a regional scale is tungsten. If you're starting to see tungsten show up, that's generally a good sign. It's not necessarily that tungsten is intimately associated with the presence of gold, but tungsten tells you that you're in the right type of system or the right type of age or the right type of horizon or whatever. You know, tungsten, in my mind, and again, particularly not just any tungsten, but scheelite. So the, you know, the nice fluorescing blue stuff, that tells you you're in a good spot.
So what's your favorite right now, Bernie, of all these projects that you've optioned out? Which one are you most bullish on?
You're asking me to pick between my children.
Yeah, I want to ask the hard questions.
The hard questions. What am I most bullish on? God. Well, that's a tough one. I mean, like, you take a look at Banyan and it's got a lot of ounces and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. You take a look at Sitka and it's doing basically the same thing as Banyan. You take a look at American Eagle and I'm pretty excited about what's to come on the drill program in some of these peripheral targets. I mean, you make one more hit and you're off to the races out there as well. Gosh, that's a tough one, Rob. I don't really, you know, I don't know. I mean, I've got
I'll let you pass.
Yeah.
Somebody asked me about Northern Lights. What's going on with Northern Lights?
Northern Lights, you know, there's a little bit of corporate reorganization happening, which I think is going to be a good thing. Sometimes you get new blood in. We've put a couple of copper assets, like we put an early stage copper asset from just north of Knack, the same belt as Knack, into Northern Lights. It's called Mountain Heretsky or Heretsky. That's probably one of the best, if not the best, copper soil anomaly in the belt. Some of that's related to topography, but it is still, no matter how you cut it, a really screaming copper soil anomaly. So, you know, our hope is
how
you
good
drill.
Of a copper soil anomaly is it? Like
how good?
1,000 ppm?
Yeah, I mean, you're up to 1% copper in soil in spots, right? So that's a big copper number, and we're looking at it as sort of peripheral sort of alteration. I don't think they've really, I mean, there was some historical drilling, but it was all off in the sort of what would be considered the margins of the project, right? So, you know, you got historical drilling off in the margins or the periphery of the system, and it never really returned ore grade intersections, but that's no surprise, right? Because you're off on the periphery, you're not expecting ore grade intersections out there. So, you know, they've done some more surface geochem out there this fall, some IP. We got another copper asset of mine out of the Yukon, thing called Pup. It's just out of Dawson City, so a nice mining town. And that's another one that's kind of like a little bit of an enigma. I'm sort of assessing it as a Minto or a Sherwood copper type project. You know, and again, we've got some really good copper and soil numbers for surface values in unglaciated terrain out there. So, you know, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 ppm copper in soil. And the boys and I, we've gone out there and actually physically dug with pick and shovel into the copper soil anomaly to get through the overburden, which is, you know, 3 or so feet thick in spots, and you should see the mineralized, rock that's starting to pop out. So it's just a function now. We've got the permit and stuff like that for that one. It's a function of getting out there next
What kind
spring
of
with the
system
next.
is that? What kind of copper system?
Are you familiar with Sherwood Copper, the old Minto mine?
I know the old Minto mine. Yeah. It's the same style.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a metamorphosed. That's how we're exploring. I've got a rock, or I'm sending some rocks out for thin section analysis, and we'll have a better handle on things once that data is back. But what I'm seeing in the field, there's a little bit of magnetite, there's a little bit of secondary biotite. There's a lot of it's copper oxides. It's heavily oxidized, and the rock fragments we're bringing out aren't the best for descriptions. But what I'm seeing looks like an older sort of metamorphosed copper porphyry. A little bit of gold potential, some silver. We've got some moly in some spots, but yeah, we'll know more next year. This time we'll have it undoubtedly, or 99% sure we'll have it trenched and drilled by this year next time, both Papa and Horetsky.
2025 for you must feel like Santa Claus, arrived every day of the year. This has been an incredible year in the Yukon, incredible year in the gold sector.
Yeah.
It's just a confluence of events. And what's kind of crazy, the momentum that the Yukon gold mining industry has right now, it feels like it's just getting started. I mean, if we think about where Yukon gold was 1 year ago and where we are today, and the momentum this sector has, I mean, wow, it could be like the first inning.
Yeah, I mean, you take a look at the size of the Tombstone Gold Belt, and you take a look at how prolific the entire belt is, and how much of that belt's in the Yukon. And so if you're just looking at gold potential of the Yukon, like, holy smokes, all the way from Brewery Creek just out of Dawson all the way over to the Yukon NWT border, it kind of dips across into the NWT and then kind of pops out again down around Cantung. So I mean, that's a big stretch of rocks. It's pretty prolific, it's pretty robust, it's pretty, it's a pretty good set of rocks. I mean, there's been a couple of losses though. What was that company just in the NWT side that there was huge promotion? Rackla. I mean, that thing kind of exploded like, holy shit. They still got some holes left, but it's over promote, under deliver, right? I like to be on the other side of the coin where you over deliver and under promote, and it's not over for them yet. There's still some holes left, and they have a few regional targets that look interesting. But when shit like that happens, it's tough on the rest of us, right? It sends a little bit of a chill through the market, and a little bit of a chill through the thing. I think there's another one.
Well, as long as you have Banyan and Snowline and Sitka and those guys keep hitting white
there's going to
gold,
be more.
Great intercept.
Yeah, there's going to be more. It's just a function of I guess people's sort of expectation levels have got to kind of get a little more realistic, because there was a sort of stretch there where anything with RIRGs, reduced intrusion related gold systems, everybody's becoming an expert, and everybody
if you got sheeted veins with bismuth, it's worth 100 million market cap.
And I end up on the chat boards every so often, and people start shit talking me like they don't have a clue who I am, and they don't have a clue how many years I've spent in the belt and stuff like that.
Well, that's the great thing about co.ca is everybody's on the same level, right?
Yeah. But it's like I said again, though, it's when you have a couple of disasters, it kind of dumps a little bit of cold water on the party, and everybody needs to kind of readjust where their expectation levels are. And is this a prolific belt? Yes, Does it have some monsters in it? Yeah. I mean, take a look at Snowline. That's one hell of a discovery. Take a look at Sitka, what that's going to become. Take a look at Banyan, how that keeps growing. This is a prolific belt. On the same token, not every project in that belt's going to be a winner. So again, it's about assessing the projects and making sure the rocks are right. And I've been exploring these types of gold targets, well, basically since I started, right? Banyan, I think I staked Banyan in 1990. We explored it at that point in time as a distal version of the Fort Knox type system. I mean, the terminology has changed over the years, but the metallogeny, or the pathfinders, the geology, it's basically the exact same stuff we've been doing now for 30-40 years in the belt. Have the names changed? Yeah, sure. Okay, was it Rurgs before? No, it wasn't. It was a Fort Knox type system, but
Right.
So there's going to be some winners, there's going to be some losers along the way. And, we're sitting here talking about all my wins, but, I had quite a few losses out in the right around Snowline in that district. We spent a lot of time out there. I prospected into the NWT way back in the day, and, it just never worked out there because it was so bloody remote. Right. So,
that's really out there. That's really, you got to use helicopters, right?
Oh, you got to use helicopter, a fixed wing, a road. Gosh, it's like by train, plane, and automobile or something. They could write a story about this shit. How, I remember when I first, like I said, we're going back to when I first started prospecting out in places like this. My God, you'd have that one shot, that one chance. You've got a $10,000 budget and you're blowing $3,000 of it on helicopter and another $3,000 on this. So your limited budget out there just doesn't go very far. And I finally ended up not giving up. I had a few projects out there, and I think I still have the underlying sort of assets in a few areas, but it was hard. Your dollars just don't go as far as when you're beside a road like that.
Yeah, the odds are just way worse. You've got no margin for error, right?
Yeah, you don't. You have to take a swing. I remember when I landed down in the Cantung area on a property, and it was pre-GPS days, and so you're looking at a topo map and you're looking at the helicopter pilot, and you're trying to decide, like, oh my God, there's like 9 valleys that all look the same, one after another. Which one are we on? Oh, fuck. Let's just land here. We're in the middle. And as we guessed wrong that trip, and we landed one valley too far away, and and so you have to walk like 12 fucking miles just to get to your target, and but you can't.
That's why I'm not a prospector, Bernie. 12-mile walk through the wilderness. So tell us a prospecting story. I'm sure you've got some great stories. Choose one that is entertaining and funny, or whatever. We want to hear a prospecting story.
A prospecting story that's funny. Like, there is nothing funny.
There's got to be something funny.
It's funny.
Entertaining, or you lost a lot or made a lot.
Well, it's funny when you land in the wrong valley and you have to walk every morning 6-7 miles just to get to the start point. I had another one. We similar trip. We were out in what's called the Bonnet Plume area before it became a park, and it's a pretty good copper, cobalt, uranium, gold district. And I don't know why they parked it, because it would be one hell of a boon in the Yukon's economy right now. I'm sure of that, but whatever. I'm not the one making decisions. But we landed there, and again, we got set out in one spot, and you had to do these foot traverses out into all the different little sub areas that you had around there. And we walked, God, I don't know, we walked something like 22 kilometers out to the far target. And all we had with us was a tarp, like a little plastic tarp to sleep under, because you couldn't afford to pack a tent, and you didn't have much food. And the guy I was with, he ate all the food on the way there. So we came back. We had to walk back 22 kilometers without food.
Oh my God.
Yeah. By the time we got back,
that's crazy.
Yeah, by the time we got back, we were so malnourished, not dehydrated as much because there was lots of creeks and lots of water, but we hadn't had food for about a day and a half. And that's a
And you're
lot of hard.
walking 22 kilometers, so you're
Yeah.
burning calories. I mean, yeah, that's crazy. So if you're not a fit younger human being, that could be life-threatening, quite frankly.
Oh yeah, we were, we started seeing things like as we got closer and closer to the camp. I mean, that was, you're starting to get into like 22, 23 kilometers of field traversing with pack sacks. Like I had a big rifle along because it was grizzly bear country, and it started getting dangerous because you start getting not delirious. What's the term where you start, you just
lightheaded. You're just lightheaded.
Yeah, you start seeing things.
Yeah,
you start seeing things, and we were walking back into camp, and my buddy was seeing big road signs and 30 kilometers turn left and shit like that.
You sure you didn't take any mushrooms as you were walking?
No, you didn't have to. It was like a vision quest without any or nothing. At the end, I put it was a 300 Weatherby Magnum I was packing, and at the end, we'd seen a bear like half an hour before, and I figured, fuck it, I better put a shell into the chamber. And so I'm walking around with a loaded gun, and my buddy that's in front of me, he just splits, because I'm starting to wave the gun around and stuff.
Oh my God. Wow. Okay.
But
that's a pretty good story. Well, you made it back at least.
Yeah. Well, to this day, I'm a gym fanatic, right? Like I'm routinely in the gym for 2 hours a day during the winter time, and 57 years old, and I can still outrun guys that are 30. So I'm pretty fit, and you have to be, though.
Yeah. To be on the field like that in the Yukon. Yeah. You have to be really fit. Do you think you want to do this till the day you die? I mean, you think you'll be doing this at 75, 80, 90?
Yeah. I mean, just variations of it, right? Old man time sneaks up on all of us. I can feel it in my shoulder. I can feel it in my left knee, right? I just about died a few years ago. We were cutting a helicopter pad, and the chainsaw, like I cut across the outside of my left leg, and fuck, there was blood everywhere. It smelled like a butcher shop, and we were cutting the chopper pad and had to get the helicopter in like pronto. But I walked out. Like I walked to the chopper, and the ambulance met me at the base in Dawson, and they're like, fucking, we'll take you. I'm like, fuck that, I'm walking. Wow. Meet you at the hospital. So, it was a lot of stitches, and my wife was worried, and my kids were like, hey, we're going home.
How many stitches?
Oh God, a lot.
like 30, 40?
Yeah, inside and outside.
Oh shit, yeah. Okay, it's a deep cut. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, interior stitches and everything. And I got out of the hospital that evening. Like they stitched me up, and they had me under a little bit of supervision for the first hour or two and stuff like that. And when they figured, okay, fuck it, he's going to be fine, then they sent me home, and the kids are already going, yeah, Dad, I guess we're heading home tonight or heading home tomorrow. And I'm like, fuck that, we're not heading home. We're back in the field tomorrow. And we went back in the next day. I didn't move very far and very fast. Like we landed at the helicopter pad that we were working on, and I just kind of hung around there and kind of hobbled around. It was pretty fucking sore, I'll tell you that. But I chased the kids back up the hill, and we finished the work that we were supposed to do, and we got that job done, and then we went home.
I'm going to finish up with a few questions, Bernie. We're going to go rapid fire.
Yeah.
Just kind of stuff that's on my mind. Should it ever take a company 3 months to get assays back? Is there any reason why it actually takes 90 days from the time that the hole is drilled to when you actually get the assays back and tell the market about it?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes the labs are just brutal, right? And sometimes they're good. And it all depends on who you are and when you put the samples in. Right. Typically, the labs are staffed by summer students that go back to the university or school in the fall. And so if you don't have your samples in by late August or something like that, generally your turnaround times will start getting a little bit slower, but you also have to watch out for companies that are hiding results or don't want to release them at bad times or don't want to, so it's a case by case basis, I guess, right? Labs are there's a lot of moving parts in a lab, from the prep to the analytical and stuff like that. So I don't know. 3 months is a fairly long time. Right now, I think we're looking at 45-day turnaround or something like that. So from the time, but there's a lot of prep work that goes into these things, right? So drill.
So 3 months is possible. It's just kind of on the long end of the range.
Yeah, case by case basis, Rob. Man, it's got to be case by case, right? It all depends again on who you are and what you're doing and how you're doing it. Are you a base metal project and you're looking for an acid digestion at the lab, or do you need fire assay? What do you need? How backed up are they? Are they backed up on
What's
fire
the
assay?
kind of project that has the long, I would think that if it's porphyry, copper, and gold, and you're sending in like 1,000 meters of core per hole, and you want all the metals, you want whatever, like 20, you want assays for like 20 different, metals. That's probably going to take the longest, right?
Yeah, fire assay.
Fire assay takes the longest.
Yeah, I would say so. Like typically fire assay, there's only so many, so much space in their ovens and so many things that can get processed at the same time, and the sample preparation procedures are typically a little more onerous, right? So instead of preparing out a 0.5 gram size sample or a 1 gram size sample for some of these multi-element analysis, you got to get a 30 gram or sometimes a 50 gram sample crushed and pulverized and melted and weighed, and there's a lot that goes into it. If you've ever been into a lab, you would know, and if you haven't been to a lab, you should go take a look, because it's a process, right? It's a big business. Like aerially expansive, there's a lot of moving parts.
How many projects do you have in your pipeline, in your bullpen, that you're waiting to option out? And pitch me on one of them right now.
No, I've got I would say somewhere in the 70 to 80 projects in the pipeline. Probably our best current batch of projects is a series of gold targets in the sort of central BC area. They're all road accessible. They're all simple metallurgy, an orogenic type system, kind of a orogenic sediment hosted vein type systems. Got some historical numbers on some of them. Some of them are just pure grassroots discoveries that we've made. So, but they all fit the same geological model, and they all have road access. They're all proximal to power. They're all in, sort of recognized mining areas of BC. There's no spirit bears. There's no spotted owls. There's no salmon in the streams. There's, and I think the boys and I, we spent the last couple of years trying to put these projects together, and our sort of mandate was to find targets that are effectively right beside a road or in a logging cut, where you could take an RC drill rig to the property and be drilling, within half an hour of showing up. So we got a series of those things in central BC. Those are looking pretty good. Yeah, there's a lot though, like 75 projects, and we're right in the middle right now doing assessment reports, and we've got 17 reports to do based on work that we completed this summer. So, 17 distinct projects we hit this summer, and that's a typical year for us.
Bernie, this is a fascinating conversation. I feel like there's a lot more we can delve into, and including like some of the details of how you actually option a project, or how a company would come to you and, come to terms on, acquiring a project, from you. But I think that's it for now. I appreciate your time. It was
Not a
very
problem.
entertaining, and I learned a few things.
Well, that's good. I mean, my goal is to make everybody smarter.
Very good. Don't get dropped off at the wrong valley in the Northwest Territory.
Don't get dropped off in your wrong valley when the GPSs aren't working, and don't cut your leg with a chainsaw. They hurt.
Yeah, that sounds really scary. Thanks, Bertie.
Not a problem. Take care. Have a good day. Thanks for having me.